We are in a special epilogue with agents on the 28th of Vitesca. Is it late or is it early the 29th? Because, yeah, it's going to be the next morning, right? Because Errald has been traveling. Errald! We have Rubello! We have Praanz! And they are in Vumbra when, in the morning of this day, I'm going to speed up here to morning so we have some sunlight. Praanz is sitting in her office in Vumbra where she is deeply frustrated from various reports that have been coming in from the north. Somehow she has managed to miss these terrorists that have been plaguing the Silver Sound for a while. And the entire harbor now is basically filled with ships that are setting sail to try and catch terrorists on the east coast of Transmira on the orders of the Digitalunga and Duke Ariano da Spinalunga. And as all that is going on in the morning, Errald da Mereld returns from a trip to the north and I guess knocks on Praanz's office door?
So,
is that it?
Yeah, for reference, Praanz looks like she hasn't slept. She's sitting there like hands on the head, headache. The desk is full of papers and a bloody knife stuck out of it with a glass of whiskey next to her.
Or whatever strong stuff.
Whatever strong stuff she can get her hands on, whiskey equivalent. And she says, whoever it is, it better be good.
Should I give you a point of exhaustion and a fate die to give in to your bane?
Sure.
I'll do that. Because that's what happens when you start the scene off strong like that. Oh, in my book, you actually have 12 fate dice right now.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. Nice.
You loaning some of those out here to your best friend.
You should. But yeah, Errald is coming in. What does Rubello look like? Rubello, you've mostly been spending your time talking to farmers to suss out the truth about the murder mysteries and the terrorists. And I don't even know how Rubello, the Shamashi priest, feels about this. Like,
you probably feel a little bit defeated, considering there's not really much gain happening. It's just the same day in and day out. Not a lot of progress.
It's that moment when the investigation hits a roadblock and you have no idea where to go.
Yep.
That makes sense. Sooner or later, feel free to give in to an emotional temptation of some kind and get a fate die. Not sure what that would be at the moment, but if you can come up with something, I'm going to reward you. Sing.
Maybe you could yell at a farmer just out of frustration.
Loses his
Like,
temper.
somebody's got to know something. What happened?
You strike a farmer instead of just looking at him.
The bane has to cause trouble for yourself or for the group in some fashion to get the fate die. I gave the fate die
Praanz
to
being an
Praanz.
alcoholic.
That's why I gave you a fate die to get the exhaustion point, right? If you want to give in to emotional temptation there by getting a point of doubt, for example, Rubello, I can give you a fate die for that.
Sure. Doubting my abilities to get the truth out of these guys.
It makes it harder for you to talk to people because they have an advantage over you now.
Oh.
Yeah. So there we have it. You have given in to the emotional temptation of doubt. You doubt yourself, you doubt where you are, you doubt everything. And that is how Errald finds Praanz and Rubello in this office. It looks terrible. What does Errald look like?
Errald looks worse for wear. He's tired. He's probably hasn't slept in a while. Mikhail, you know what I've been through at this point.
Yes, I do.
And obviously the audience will hear shortly. Too.
Did you sleep
no,
all on the way here?
If Errald slept, it would probably be filled with nightmares.
Okay, I'm gonna give you a point of exhaustion for not having slept. Is this... I don't see this journey to be part of your investigate anti-creationist to the point of self-harm, though. Also,
I would probably consider who I was with.
yeah,
Maybe would fall into that, because
fair. Okay,
but
yes.
that would be
so-
about the extent of that, or the
yeah,
closest that's gonna
I'll
get.
give you for that then, maybe.
Okay.
Okay, two people who look like 7 difficult years. Watch a man who's gone through 7 difficult years come in through through the door.
Ah, Praanz.
Errald, finally. Please tell me you have some good news, man.
I've got a story to tell you.
That's never a good start to a conversation.
Oh, what do you know about our rebel rousers?
I know they're a pain in my ass.
I met up with them
And you're alive.
here in body and soul.
From the reports that I've gotten, they're not dead, so... How are you alive? They're not dead.
Let me spin you a quick story here.
Sit and have a drink, my man.
Sure, they sit down and... Is there a fire in your office?
Must be it's
Yeah.
spring.
Yeah, there would be a fireplace in her office.
Like
Okay.
this is 8-degree
Medieval
drizzle.
times.
Yeah, this is 8-degree drizzle weather, so in centigrade, right?
Yep. So Errald will walk over actually to the fire and warm himself up a little bit because we're in Vumbra. And yeah, so he's looking at the fire as he begins the story. And so this all started back at Silver Sound.
Oh god, this isn't gonna go well, is it?
It's yeah.
They fucked up my garrison, Errald.
I'm getting there. I'm getting there. I went to Silver Sound looking for the Errald's actually had a partial loss of words here. I went to Silver Sound looking for the prophet,
Another seer?
another seer.
Okay.
Yes. And the seer was not at Silver Sound, was actually to the forest in the north. And I just was quite literally exhausted that evening and decided to stay there. And I did hear about the garrison being assaulted during my stay. That evening, almost as if a breath of magic led me to the shoreline, I actually met up with a lady there who seemed to have had memory loss, for lack of better terms. And long story short, brought her to the medicine woman. She woke up, and from there, her and I made our way further north towards the Wolferwood. We met up with Wolfkin. They're furry and run around on claws.
Errol, you've met Wolfkin before.
Yeah, listen, it's been a really long last couple of days. I'm getting there. Something's Reavers. Something Reavers is what I think they're called. Yeah,
We've
anyways.
worked with the Reavers.
There was a pack of them. Anyways, so long story short, Alma, I think that's what she's going by. God, there were so many names handed around. It's hard to keep everything straight here. So yes, Alma was the lady's name. Alma and I went back to Silver Sound looking for a boat for her and her friends. Come to find out, the R&R, the Rubderana, was there. Trying, and here's the kicker, to kill the Seers. Exactly.
I hired the fuckers to kill the terrorists.
Complicated. So,
Why were they trying to kill the fucking...
they're for hire. They could be hired to go kill Sambersand. They could be hired to kill Lavina. Like, anybody. Like, really, at the end of the day. They could have been I look around for a little frog.
You can't see any little frog in here.
Okay. Yeah.
So we have to find who hired them then.
Sure. Yeah, so Alma basically says, run. I run. We meet back up with this group. It's them. Like, Articu. Them. Like,
Fucker and his hammer.
but listen, here's the fun part. I'm alive. And
I wasn't after the last time I spoke to them, so forgive me if I'm a little bipartisan.
I know you may not think this is the case, but they've changed my view since you and me met last. They are not the bad guys.
Do I need to have your brain checked? What kind of magic did they use on you?
You can check my brain if you'd like. And I look over at Rubello at this point. I'm telling you, shit that I've seen is 1, not cool. 2, we don't talk about it in the realm for a reason. And 3, that seer is gone. Gone. You think that I'm talking crazy? They're gone crazy. Period. Now, they're the good guys. I know that they're rebel rousers and starting to basically split Tricoria and whatever. But really, at the end of the day, they're actually trying to do the same thing we are and just save the Seers.
By making them go crazy?
So, further to my story, we left Silver Sound and went over to Gaspé's Rock. We got there, and just to throw this out, Alma's good. And you might get reports that Praanz was on Gaspé's Island. Hey, just hear me out. We needed to use your persona.
Nobody is me but me.
She was a really good you. Sorry, 100%.
We'll see about that when I have her in my dungeons.
Anyways, so we tried to get rid of a really powerful anti-creationist on the island. Mind tricks were played.
Isn't illusionism anti-creationism?
Yes, but her ability to pass off as you was not illusionary. It was very mundane, and she does a wonderful accent. And she can easily talk shit, such as you do. And yeah, so we tried to get rid of the anti-creationist. I'm not a mental person, so they had fun with me, they had fun with the whole bloody party, and long story short, we basically had to leave the island because we were told to, came back to the island. Her and Alma and I basically literally raised a local army that was under your control to go back against the tower.
So you got my second garrison killed.
No, here's even kicker. He told the garrison to get lost. And there's nothing to see here, move along. And they had to, just like we did. So we tried again. I literally tried to burn the bloody place down. Anyways, I hate mental magic, and I look over at Rubello at this point. No offense.
Rubello isn't doing mental magic. He's not doing mentalism. He's doing Shamashi truths. Big difference.
Or Errald, anything, the whole determining mental... like, at this point, it's all just blurry for Errald. But here's the kicker. And back to the Seer. I look back to Rubello. The rest of the party went inside. I don't know what happened. All I know is when we met back up with them, the Seer was gone crazy.
Crazy how?
Have you ever heard... I don't even want to say the word out loud because it's just going to talk about it.
Tell me.
Do you know the crazies, the rejoicers?
Yeah, I rode on a boat. I had to take them to Majora.
Yeah, those. You know about them. You had earplugs for a long time on that ship.
They were part of my original mission, was to get them to Majora. A group of them. And their keeper.
So I'm confused, and maybe this might make everything go a little bit better on my head. You can't... I don't even like talking about it because they're so bloody crazy. Anyways. The Seer is now a rejoicer. Based off what I was told, the Seer is now a rejoicer. And I left the island, parted ways, and promised them that I will be sending a message to Samersend to pull off the little one line on the bottom of these people are wanted. Because even though they do questionable things, they are not bad people for the realm.
They killed me. And they killed Gumba.
But they didn't kill me.
How were they not fucking traitors?
They are traitors possibly to Dracoria, but they are not traitors to the realm. They are not traitors for the greater good of this realm.
Starting a war makes that kind of sketchy, don't you think? Murdering the head of the police makes that kind of sketchy, don't you think?
So, now this is going into social dialogue. How can I make a test to make her believe?
To convince her, it's clear here that Errald is talking about religion.
Yes,
Like,
and she's
I'm
talking
not
about
going
politics.
to label them Antichrist anymore. Like,
Yep.
and she's talking politics, which is two completely different things. If you want to convince her, it's gonna be water, and I guess Machinator, if you want to throw in one of those.
Sure.
Okay then. So that's gonna be one fate die away from you. We're down to 3. 3 dice then in total. Praanz, you have 2. Oh, look at that. That is 1 success from Errald. You have, let's see now, you have your Bouncy Con. Not sure that applies in this case. It could for your roll there. Let's have a look.
I'm also burning my last experience.
Oh my god. So you're actually gonna level up. Dun dun dun.
Well, yeah, I'm gonna re-roll that 1 and 2 if it's possible, because I'm assuming trying to.
Trying to convince Praanz that we're all still on the same side's important.
Once lied successfully to his elder tensive to cover a family member. This is no more accurate than this. I am
What
trying
is
to
it?
cover for. I once lied to my elder tensids to cover a family member. I am now lying to cover the party.
Okay. So that's your final experience before leveling up. Woohoo! Praanz, why don't you roll 2 dice to defend yourself there? So Errald now has 2 6s for successes. Oh my god. And Praanz has 1 success. So this is Errald, and each 6 also inflicts a point of doubt on top
Can
of
I-
everything else.
Can I use an experience to reroll to 1?
Sure. Not sure there's much point in doing so other than getting closer to leveling
Doesn't
up, of course.
Breaker.
Because, yeah, you're gonna get broken regardless. Caught your cousin stealing, or the Battle of Arnhem showed her that there are things you can't fight your way out of?
Probably caught my husband stealing. Praanz's sense of right and wrong.
That's okay. So reroll the 1.
Or is your best friend, quote unquote, now telling you the opposite of what you believed?
Right? So that's 2 successes, but Errald is the initiator and has 2 6s.
Just trying to make myself slightly less broken.
That's not quite how the successes in this system works, though it does in other Year Zero systems. You will then take 3 points of doubt, which breaks you. And misery, let's have a look here.
So Praanz starts gibbering that this is fucking wrong. That no, this can't be correct. This is wrong. They're fucking psychopaths, and they've been the sole purpose of her problems all along.
And Errald is slowly wearing her down, basically.
Yeah, they're the reason the dead rose. They're the reason the oracles are dying. They're the reason that... What was Sin's character's name? They're the reason Clenora is dead. It's their fault. It's their fault. This is wrong.
So,
They killed her. They tried to kill her. They killed Gomba. They started a war. And she's like starting to mutter.
you can take consequences here to mitigate the loss, because otherwise you take 3 points, right? You can... I mean, if you... Or you can just take the broken. If you take being broken by doubt, you will be basically brooding in self-recrimination and reevaluating I was wrong about everything. Is there anything that I was right about? That's gonna be Praanz's
That
situation.
actually makes sense.
I know. That's why I'm offering it as an option.
No, legit. That makes sense though for Praanz, because from Praanz's point of view, they have been the sole root cause of her problems
Yep.
since Majora. She was convinced that they're the reason the dead raised.
Yep.
She was convinced that they're the reason the war started. She watched them kill Gomba. She watched them try to kill her. She's convinced that they're the reason that the Seers are dying.
And
She's
now-
convinced they are the root of all of her problems since Majora. She's the reason that Clanora's dead. The reason she lost her lover on Majora. All of her problems
It
and emotional
shakes-
issues.
It shakes her perspective on everything on a fundamental level.
They're not the root of all evil, then what the fuck is she fighting?
And at that point, Errald would say, "You're actually fighting the Rabdurana."
Who I hired to kill them. So at that point, Praanz is shaking. You have not seen her like this since she got on the boat at Majora. On the ride home. And she just quietly says, "Get out. Both of you, get out."
Something you could do if you want to lessen the point of doubts that you're taking is to go into a life crisis that shakes your worldview fundamentally and thus immediately abandon your destiny.
Yeah, actually, yeah.
That's a thing you can do. You gain 3 fate dice immediately from doing that, and then you will be without destiny the next session and have to write a new one after that.
Yeah, because what's her destiny?
To remain unflinchingly upright and unbending, like
Yeah.
an oak facing a storm.
And that makes sense, because she just had her entire worldview turned upside down.
Very well.
Errald just broke her.
Errol
You just broke her, yeah. She
So
would have...
as you guys walk out the door, you hear the whiskey glass break against the door as it closes.
Right? Like, everything I thought... I've been barking up the wrong tree for years now.
Years at this point. Ever since Majora.
Yep. I can see how this will lead Praanz to start questioning, like, the Dracoran Empire,
The entire
her
empire,
seniors,
working for the Digitalonga. Like, what the fuck's the point?
who is really the good guys? Is there anything
Am
I can do to save
Am
the
I the
honor
bad
and
guy?
integrity of...
Yeah,
of
that's
Bert?
exactly what's going on in Praanz's head right now. Am I the bad guy? Because Praanz's view of right and wrong is so black and white. That's why she can do what she does. And now Errol, no, dude, there's gray. And that color doesn't exist. What do you mean there's gray?
Just wait for the write-up that I have to send to Samerson.
It's also particularly interesting because the tension between this and your new shadow command from Linvina to enlist the Rabdurana to target Empress Heneguya becomes a bit more touchy now, doesn't it?
It does.
It does.
And now Praanz is, do I want to continue even being part of the Digitalonga, or do I want to start quietly quitting?
The quiet quitting movement might just arrive at Dracoria quicker than you think. She still has her network of agents, and she might start working for her own ends within the Digitalonga.
I did say I was eventually going to make Praanz a superpower.
Slowly,
This is how her villain story starts.
right?
This is
Slowly
Praanz's villain origin.
turning against even her own wife at some level.
Yep.
And that tension.
Sorry, Drake.
Sorry, Drake. Big
It is
plot
what it is.
points here.
So As we get kicked out of Praanz's office,
Yep.
I look over to Rubello, and I say, and I also might have found out some more information about our dear friend over at the Holy Kashat.
Oh. What kind of information did you find out?
That was also an R&R hit.
So the Rubderana killed the old Crystallocrat, apparently.
That's what Errald strongly believes at this point.
Yeah. So
Because-
it seems, Rubello, that you have the same enemy as Praanz and
The players.
the adventurers.
Yes.
Now everything is just spinning in his head.
If we all have a common enemy, then why don't we just gang up on them? We might have a chance.
So, having talked to one directly, and I didn't really want to get into this with Praanz because she seems to be pretty damaged at this point. Olma was and is Rubderana. She's actually defective. She was the one that actually met up with me on the beach that I was describing. And she knows how to identify them, and I'm going to tell you because Praanz is not as in a good state to go ahead and know this secretive information. Whenever she gets better and she's back to normal and not throwing bottles on her exit, then she can know this too. They carry a scythe. They usually also go ahead and have little frogs as their quote-unquote signature killing marker, which we've actually experienced back in Manjura, which was strangely enough, Olma was on Manjura with us at the time. But you don't know who I'm referring to, but there was a drunken monk. And lastly, and Errol at this point actually takes down his lip, they have a little tattoo on the underside of their lip. And these are all indirect notes. The other two is easy to duplicate. The last one's a little bit more difficult about how to identify the Rubderana. So in your journeys, you can use these truths to help you.
Thank you for the knowledge.
Errald, you have clearly shaken everything here with your news. You also leveled up.
Yep.
Want to deal with that?
Sure.
Okay then. You gain a new experience. What is your new experience?
Telling a hard truth to a good friend.
I told a good friend a hard truth. That's very apropos, isn't it?
Yep.
You are now officially level 3, in fact.
That should be breaking a good friend with a hard truth.
There you go.
I broke a hard... Yeah, I broke a
I
hard...
broke a good friend. The hard truth.
I broke a good friend with a hard truth. Wow.
Yep.
Yeah. That's something that a Shamashi priest would go with, right? What ability do you want to increase?
So I was joking about this before we got on call. What's my options under thievery?
Oh, your expertises. Yeah. Yeah, thievery you haven't continued to exploit. So you have, at the present, you have lockpicking, which you've never actually... Have you used? Maybe once.
I've used it once.
Pickpocket. So you're a true artist with the skill of cleaning out a pocket. Acrobatics, which is jumps, climbing, balancing, etc. Quick-footed. This is on foot chases. You can spend fate dice for it. And knife fighter. So for melee purposes, but only if you use a knife. So those are the options for thievery. You are able to use, even though there are no expertises related to it, you can spend fate dice for sneaking with thievery.
Oh, okay. So
And
that's
and to discover those who try to sneak on you.
And what's the focus around that? I'm assuming that's wind? Or what?
No, it's fire for the most part.
Oh, to both recognize and to sneak?
Oh, so for stealth is gonna be fire, and to discover those who try to sneak on you, it's probably gonna be wind. But you
Wind,
can add your
okay.
thievery fate dice
As
to
a
the wind roll.
extra.
Yeah.
Cool. Alright, then I'm not gonna mess with that. I think that's fine. I'll leave thievery as is then. What's my options under Machinator? Sorry.
Under
I
mechanic.
was
No,
gonna
you
say, I
should,
think Machinator makes more sense for what you just did.
Yeah, that was
in
my
a
only-
way.
Yep.
So you have insight. Hooks, you can discern an NPC's darkest secret. If you win a water roll using at least one fate die, you can make up some dirty secret that they might have. Clenora was an expert on this. Discretion, you've learned how to move unseen and notice the movement of others. So you can spend fate dice to the abilities level when rolling for stealth-related actions. Rabble Rouser, you can whip a crowd into a frenzy against a targeted individual. That's water plus fate dice. Or Gossip, you're a master at spreading false rumors. Also water roll.
Yeah, so that's the only problem is, other than truthfully this scene, Errald's not much of a machinator. He can tell when people's lying, i.e. my insight, but
Yeah.
outside of that, Errald's not interested in the social aspects of it, nor would he like bring this up in the middle of a crowd and say, the Tricorians and the
Is
the
there
champions
anything
of
that
the
would
realm
let
are
you
right.
do the opposite?
Like
Well-
calm.
Diffuse the situation?
That's the Shimashi, isn't it?
I think it's the Shamashi Truths, yeah.
Because
Yeah.
that seems more like what you just did. Is you're trying to diffuse a situation.
Yeah, but Shimashi Truths and the Pyromancy don't mix.
You know what, that actually, there's two things that you could consider in that case, if you want to spread yourself out even more. Though it's wind, so it's not something you would be very good at. Enki's Flowing Wisdom is like the whole wise choice of paths and healing hands and harmonic influence and bring light and mercy to people. So if you want to calm people down and heal their doubt and their anxiety, that's really the magic of the healing light of Tigwalvan. But it's all wind related, so
Yeah, it doesn't fit the.
you could adjust
Stats.
your bloods, of course, so you could lower one other blood and raise wind one step. That's entirely possible to do. But yeah, let's see where we're taking this guy.
Okay. At this point, I'm pretty much stuck in fire. He'd say it that way, but mainly because it's the focus of the pyromancy.
Yeah.
And yeah, you know what? I'm gonna just keep pushing that.
More
Sure, we're gonna bring
pyromancy.
that to level 3.
Pyromancy to level 3.
Yep.
You are
Because there's a fire burning in Errald at this point that he just wants to protect the realm.
yeah.
He doesn't. The lines between creationist and anti-creationism is starting to blur pretty heavily for him.
You know what?
And-
This is scary. This is the D&D equivalent of you just got a fireball.
Yep.
Truly, because pyromancy level 3, so yeah, firewalking, speak to flames, fire attack, heat substance, heat emotions. So you can make people, you can stir up emotions like hatred, anger, passion. So you can fuel that. The opposite of that magically would be aquamancy. I think that is cooling emotions, calm waters. and so on.
You did just get Praanz going.
Yes, he did. Without the use of magic.
All
So,
you did
yeah.
was tell her the truth.
Yeah. All right.
And now she's throwing whiskey bottles. It's a bad country song.
Yes, she is. And I guess, because I'm looking at the time as well, I guess in 2 weeks we will find out where this group of agents will spend their efforts. If Praanz might just be so shaken for the rest of the day that no orders go out, that nobody is able to talk to her.
Praanz will probably. How long did it take us to get back from Majora?
Oh, that took 4 or 5 weeks.
Oh, she wouldn't have been locked in. She probably will be locked in her office with a few bottles of whiskey for at least a day or two.
That makes sense, as she's revaluing her life
Yeah.
and thinking
'Cause
about her
the-
next course of action.
The last time she was this messed up, she lost her longtime lover to a horde of zombies.
Yes, she did. She's right back there again.
Yeah. So probably at least a couple days to fully reevaluate her life.
So I'm going to make a note, which means that she will come out of her stupor somewhere on the 1st of the next month.
That makes sense.
Comes back to the world. That's my note here. And that is... Iskamsi is about to begin, you guys. That's the next month. It's just like a couple of days away. Yeah, that's where we're at. I'm going to also put a note here. Errald breaks Praanz on the 29th. So we know this is
So
when it
Praanz has
happened.
officially been broken twice.
Yeah.
The first time physically,
Yes.
the second
yes.
time emotionally.
Yes. That's... He was in the room where it happened, and so was Rubello. All right, you guys. So we are going to get some steam up on the agents again, and I'm not sure where the agents are going to take their investigations next, but I'm sure we'll find out in a couple of weeks, and I'm sure you're going to have some chatter to do on the Discord between to decide on the new course of action, because that came out of left field and everybody's surprised. So thank you, everyone, and see you next time.
Good night.